I run faster and faster, and my legs push harder and harder, and I'm sprinting, and at this point, I realize I'm crying. I'm crying. I'm running as fast as I ever have before, and I'm sobbing, and you can't run away from that feeling anymore. Dear Tim, thank you. Every Saturday morning, I go for a long run. I like to start my runs the same way. I'll grab my laptop and I will go to the kitchen table. I'll open it up and I'll try to find a couple YouTube videos to watch to kind of ease my mind and get ready for that run. Last Saturday, I opened my laptop to a recommended video from Tim Ferriss called My Healing Journey After Childhood Abuse. If you've experienced some form of trauma before, the feelings evoked by reading a title of that nature are probably not going to be new to you, and they weren't new to me. I just started my therapy journey, and I'm working through a lot of these unresolved, unprocessed traumas from my past. And reading that title gave me a sense of familiarity and a sense of comfort that I needed that day. So I got up, I downloaded the podcast, and I continued on with my pre-run routine. I like my pre-run stretching a lot. It makes my body feel like we're gearing up to do something spectacular. It makes my body feel like it's mine in a way that it doesn't always feel like it's mine. And I know for a lot of people, running is a simple act. It's something easy, it's something mindless, but to me, it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of effort to gear up and feel like I'm gonna use my body in a way that honors me, because that wasn't always the case. Running, to me, is a mission, and this week's mission was just to listen. So I opened the door, I pressed play, and my legs started to move. Tim, to his credit, starts this conversation directly. There's a long breath in and a pause, and then he just comes out and says it. He was sexually abused from the ages of 2 to 4. He goes on to mention disassociation, the way that the mind pulls away from the body and makes it feel like it's a separate agent from whatever is happening. At this point, I started to become a lot more aware of my body physically. I felt my quads rippling as my foot stepped down. I felt the pressure of the pavement against the ball of my foot. I felt the power that was being exuded in every single step and swing forward. I felt my arms swinging back and forth, up and down, the motion of my shirt jumping up and down against my chest, and the feeling of my heart pounding away against my sternum. At this point, my legs have a motion of their own volition. I'm not guiding them. I have no idea what route we're taking. I've never taken this route before. My legs are just moving. They're moving, and there is a disassociation between what my mind is thinking, what I'm feeling, and where my body's going. My body was taking me somewhere completely on its own. Tim dives in deeper, and I run harder. I run faster. And every time that he said something that I related to, I breathed out a little bit harder. At this point, Debbie Millman takes over. She shares her story and is explaining why she's there and what she experienced. And she's so soft-spoken and so gentle and so tender that you could almost mistake what she's saying for a lullaby, but you can't, because the pain in her words is so raw and so real and so unavoidable. And so I run faster and faster, and my legs push harder and harder, and I'm sprinting, and at this point, I realize I'm crying. I'm crying. I'm running as fast as I ever have before, and I'm sobbing, and you can't run away from that feeling anymore. I'm running as hard as I ever have before, and I'm sobbing. I'm sobbing because I'm meeting people that I relate to. I'm meeting people who understand the struggle. I'm meeting other survivors. Suddenly, Tim Ferriss isn't just my role model. He isn't just somebody whose podcast I listen to and whose books I've read. He's an ally. He's a friend. Everyone has a story. You don't? Okay. Your brother does. Your sister does. Your mother does. Your friend does. Just because you don't know that there's a story doesn't mean that something hasn't happened. And there are also many types of trauma. This is not just sexual abuse. Trauma exists in many forms, and it's important to realize that trauma is not defined by the thing that happened. Trauma is defined by the way that the things you've experienced make you feel. So you really have no idea if anyone's ever been through some form of trauma unless they tell you. So I'm gonna remember Saturday's run forever because everyone has a story, and these famous people who seem to have their lives so put together, you would never think on paper that something has happened to them, but they're affected too. And as I was sprinting down the street, as the tears and the snot were running down my face, I realized that yeah, we all do have stories. And if Tim can share his, then I can share mine. So I'm here. I'm here because of Tim, but I'm also here for you. Trauma affects us in unknown ways, and it will sit there until you process it and understand it and give it space, because the mind keeps track and you can't outrun it. So I put a bunch of links in the description box below that will hopefully be helpful to anybody who has experienced sexual abuse or trauma, or know of somebody who might have experienced some of these forms of trauma as well. And in addition to that description box, I want to let you know that my inbox is always open. You can leave me a comment down below. You can send me a DM on Instagram. I want to reiterate that while these are emotionally powerful and intense things, you do not need to feel them alone, and you're not alone, because everyone does have a story, and you deserve to recognize that this is not a battle that you need to fight by yourself. You can't outrun trauma, but you can overcome it. You can heal. We all can. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next week.